All right, we're going to continue now. Once again, make sure your cell phones are off because during the break, a lot of us make calls. Make sure it's off or muted. Again, we'll have the coach speak, and then you can raise your hand. We'll call on you. Please, again, who you are and your affiliation. Now we turn our attention to West Virginia. Head coach Neal Brown. Coach, opening statement, please.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. Proud to represent West Virginia University in the great state of West Virginia. I want to welcome Commissioner Yermark to the Big 12. It's a crazy time in college football, as everybody in this stadium knows, and feel really confident about the leadership of our conference moving forward. I want to take a quick second and just make a note of who we have here representing our program. Defensive lineman Dante Steele, cornerback Charles Woods. Neat experience from him because this is home for him, so he's able to come home. Offensive lineman Zach Frazier and wide receiver Bryce Ford Wheaton. And then our champion for life is wide receiver Sam James, who's also with us. It's officially football season. We're 50 days away from the backyard brawl, the return of the backyard brawl, 19 days until we have our first practice. It's been a productive offseason. Staff adjustments on offense, highlighted by the addition of offensive coordinator Graham Harrell, has been very beneficial. We remade our roster to mirror the type of football team that we want to be, and that gives us best opportunity to win in this league. We've had 33 additions to our roster since January. Our work ethic, our leadership, and our team chemistry are much improved and experiencing great success on the recruiting trail. Quick kind of preview offensively, we return our top 7 offensive linemen, 2 of our top receivers in Sam James and Bryce Ford Wheaton, 2 experienced tight ends, and then we've got a competition at the quarterback position that I'm sure that you all want to talk about. Defensively, a lot of experience returning on our defensive line, like the athleticism of our linebackers with X-Ray Lowe and Lance Dixon, huge addition to Lee Koba. It's going to be a difference maker there. At corner, I like the group we have. Charles Woods, we've had some experience through the transfer portal as well, and experience at safety. And then special teams-wise, return Casey Legg, who's preseason all-conference, add a kickoff specialist that'll compete for our field goal job as well, and Parker Grothaus, and our punting job's open. So play a tough schedule. It's been well documented. 2 non-conference games, 2 rivalry games that are both on the road, 11 Power 5 opponents, and then a great schedule here in the Big 12. And so it's going to be a challenge for us. And with that, I'll take questions.
If you have a question, raise your hands. We've got, they're wearing the pink shirts. Let's start right over here to the left, Coach. And once again, stand up, say your name and your affiliation.
Hi, Coach. Ian Boyd, Inside Texas. Since you've arrived at West Virginia, you've had tough, hard-nosed defensive teams. Will you be able to maintain that culture after going maybe a little more passing air raid on offense and then losing some of the contributors that you lost on defense through the transfer portal?
We think this defensive unit has the opportunity to be the best that we fielded so far. We're never going to lose what makes West Virginia special, and that's a toughness. We really try to mirror the mindset of our state. And in West Virginia, it's a blue-collar group that goes to work, and it's really proud of their heritage. And that's the same fundamentals that we're trying to look for and trying to put on the field on the defensive side of the ball every Saturday. I like our group. It's a group that has had unique paths. If you look at a guy like Lee Koba, who's came in spring ball, who will be our starting Mike linebacker. Not a traditional path, but here he is, and we think he's got a chance to be one of the better linebackers in our league. You look at Charles Woods, who's representing us today, FCS All-American that made the jump to Power 5 football and had the leading coverage numbers in our league, according to PFF data last year. So we're a group that's going to be tough, physical. I like the pieces that we've added. I think through the portal on defense, what we were looking to add is guys that were experienced and that were selfless, that could be great teammates, and we've done that. And I think the collection of players that we're going to have, our whole is going to be maybe better than each individual.
Coach, we're going to go over here to the right side, about the 4th row.
Hi, Coach. Mason Horodisky with KMAC KLBK in Lubbock. You kind of touched upon new offensive coordinator Graham Harrell right there. Can you just go into more detail about able to bring to the locker room so far? And I guess what's been the biggest improvement you've seen in the offense with Harold?
Yeah, I should expect a Lubbock guy to talk about Graham, right? So that's good. Yeah. Now, here's what Graham's brought is he's brought a different energy about him. He's confident without being arrogant. He's extremely humble. It helps that he was a great player in this league. You know, I think that gets the players' attention on your current roster, but also in recruiting. He's had great success at not only USC, but at North Texas as well. He's been able to have success with different types of players in different types of offenses. And so I'm excited what he can bring. He's been a great staff member. And so, you know, I think we're going to see the benefits. In the biggest for me is he's got a great feel on game day. And so that's something that I think is going to be a huge positive, and it'll be not only for our players, but for me, great feel on game day. So I'm looking forward to it.
Have a question again, raise your hands. And while we're waiting, Coach, I'll ask you a question. How much can Graham put in so early? I mean, does it have to be incremental, or did he put a lot in the spring?
You know, we basically put everything that we have in the spring. And that's kind of, from a schematic standpoint, in part of the reason why I felt like Graham was the best fit for us at West Virginia is schematically we don't anticipate being a whole lot different. Where we're going to be different is in our preparation, in our practice habits, and in our ability to probably be more prepared going into each and every game. But from a schematic standpoint, everything that we're going to do, we installed in spring ball. We've been repping them all summer. And we'll use the fall camp practice schedule to refine those even more. But what we're going to run, we've had put in.
All right, Coach, we'll go right side here, about 3/4 of the way back.
Kevin Kinder with the Blue and Gold News. Coach, you've indicated your support for the NIL process and have put a number of different programs in place. Are you concerned at all about the players' time management? I mean, that seems to have the potential to be another big drain on their resources.
Kevin, thanks for making the trip. Appreciate that. You know, I think that we live in an era now where there's a lot of pulls on our players' times. And the ability to manage time, not only for the student athletes, for staff, for myself, gets harder and harder. You know, and I'm for name, image, likeness. I think I said this in this exact same chair here a year ago. We've got to figure out some guardrails on it where we can still help student athletes, but it's not necessarily used as an inducement. But that is, you know, a lot of our preparation for our players is about time management, because we feel like the thing that everybody has the same is the same amount of time. And how you manage that is a real differential in the success of each individual. And so with name, image, and likeness, that's been a huge part of what we're doing with the character development piece of our fifth quarter program.
Okay, Coach, we'll go left side here, about 4 rows back.
Danny Davis, Austin American Statesman. Neal, I don't know how involved you were in these discussions, but can you take us through the resumption of the backyard brawl, and how big is that for the Pitt and West Virginia programs?
Well, it's an important rivalry. I wasn't there when the initial contract was signed to play Pitt. Shane Lyons, our athletic director, he asked me about the continuation of the series, which we'll do later in the decade, and I was for it. It's really important for us to play regional rivalries. The backyard brawl be my first opportunity to be a part of it. Our fan base is extremely passionate about that game, and so it's a game that I would be in favor of playing each year. And so I think it's a great kickoff for college football. You know, we're not playing on so-called week 0, but we're the premier Power 5 game versus Power 5 opponent on Thursday night, and our guys are excited. It's been a great carrot for our guys as we've gone through winter, through spring ball, now through summer workouts, to know that, man, we've got not only a game to look forward to, but it's a rivalry game that's going to be in prime time.
Coach, on the right side, 6, 7 rows back.
Hey, Coach. Ben Hutchins with the Ocali. You have the longest trip out of just about anyone here, and I'm wondering if you see UCF and some of these other longer trips that are going to be added to the Big 12. Is that as big of an issue as some people make it out to be now with jets and stuff like that?
It's not for football, and I can only speak from a football perspective. The travel is not that big a deal. You're going to do 4 games, 4 away games, and at least a couple trips to Texas each year. Some years you're going to have 5 away games, but you're talking about the difference between a 2-hour flight and maybe a 2.5-hour flight. And we're going to leave on Friday afternoon, get there Friday evening. The only thing that's detrimental is sometimes if you play a night game on the road in Lubbock or in Fort Worth, then you're looking at a really early Sunday morning return. And so you've got to be careful how you handle that Sunday, Monday on the back end. Now, for an Olympic sports, it's a different story. But in football, it's not as big an issue as maybe what it gets talked about.
Coach, left side, about 4 rows back. Kirk?
Hey, Neal. Kirk Bowles from the Austin American-Statesman. I'm curious what the anxiety level is among Big 12 football coaches with this realignment. In your mind, do you think the Big 12 could position itself to be a 3rd super conference? And would it have to add more teams to be able to do that?
Kirk, first of all, I appreciate what you do for college football and enjoy your work. It's the good thing about it is I've got a lot of worries, a lot of concerns, but conference realignment's way down the list for me. Now, the guys that spoke first, it's probably a different story, right? But for us, it's, those decisions are not getting made by football coaches. Those decisions are getting made at a much higher level. I'll repeat, Kirk, what I said in our opening statement. I'm really excited about the direction of the Big 12 Conference. I think some things over the last few weeks have created a great opportunity for our league. Is from a West Virginia perspective, we're a little bit different maybe than some of the other schools that uniforms are up here. We've played in multiple leagues over the last 50 to 75 years. We've even been an independent. The one constant is that West Virginia football has always been successful and always figured out a way to make it work. And so from a long-term perspective, I have great faith that West Virginia football is going to be just fine. In the short term, I like the direction. I think we have some unique opportunities. I think the leadership of our conference has made some really good decisions with the additions, and I have strong belief that they will continue to do so.
All right, Coach, right side, about 8 rows back.
Cole Thompson, FanNation.com. Neal, you added in a couple of transfers in the defensive back room, one of which was Jalen Shelton from Tyler Junior College and Wesley McCormick from James Madison, who has 5 years of starting experience. Just when you look back when you had one of the top defensive backs in 2019 in the conference, what have you seen from their development in your defense, and also what have you seen from the leadership aspect of McCormick? Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the question. So when we looked at what we had returning in our secondary, we like the youth that we have. We've got some guys that can really run that are in their 1st or 2nd year within our program. The one thing that we were intentional about trying to improve defensively is we've been a primary zone coverage team over the last 2 years, and we've had success. It's been successful for us. But we haven't been able to create as much havoc up front, because when you play zone coverage, you only can rush 4 or 5 guys at one time. And we wanted to get faster and more athletic in the back end so we could play more coverage, so we could rush 6 and maybe even 7 sometimes. So through our additions, and we've had several, Wesley McCormick, who is a multiple-year starter at James Madison at corner, really like his ability. We think he's got an opportunity to compete for a starting job. Jalen Shelton has versatility that can play safety or corner that can really run. Jasir Cox comes from North Dakota State, multiple national champion, multiple-year starter, gives us some flexibility to play both outside linebacker positions and our nickel position. We added Rasheed Ajayi from Colorado State, who started 35 games at Colorado State. And so we've been able to add some guys, Marcus Floyd from Murray State, who was there with us in the spring. And so when we're looking at that, we wanted to be more athletic. We wanted guys that had experience starting, and they all have experience starting outside of Jalen. We're extremely excited about his athleticism, but we also wanted guys that had versatility and would check themselves at the door, meaning what I mean would do what we asked them to do within the concept of a team. And I've been really pleased with those guys so far. And I think that our secondary is going to be a real positive surprise to maybe some people that are in this room.
Any other questions? Anybody? All right, Coach. We appreciate the time, and we wish you the best of luck this year.
Yeah, thank you all. Thanks. Appreciate what you're doing for college football.